Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a case study of online conflict, a story of harassment that just spiraled into an all-out war. And it's all told through one man's public statements, showing how a fight against trolls can completely consume the person doing the fighting.
So let's just jump right in. We start with a threat, an incredible ultimatum. A YouTuber, Mimon Baraka, literally threatened to destroy the very platform he was using. He declared war on YouTube Germany itself. So the question is, how does a creator get to that point? To figure that out, we have to look at how he saw himself and how he saw his enemies.
It all kicked off with a battle against online trolls. You know, a fight that in his mind was built on injustice and just relentless harassment.
Okay, so what's really interesting here is the stark split in how he saw things. In his videos, Baraka presented himself as this totally reasonable, nice, friendly guy. But the trolls? He called them subversive subhumans from the lowest drawer. This framing is so important because in his mind, it wasn't just a disagreement. It was a clear battle between a good person and some kind of inhuman evil.
So what was his strategy? Well, it wasn't to just ignore the hate. He decided to weaponize it. He'd go live, read the trolls' comments and their usernames right out loud, and then, as he put it, play the ball back. Basically matching and, let's be honest, often escalating their own insults. He wasn't just defending himself, he was creating a public spectacle of abuse.
And this is where the whole thing crossed a really critical line. His responses went way beyond just insults. They became these graphic, very specific threats of real-world violence. I mean, threatening individuals with what would happen if they met face-to-face, he was turning an online fight into something that felt dangerously physical. At this point, you have to say, he wasn't just a victim anymore. He was becoming an aggressor.
You know, every conflict has that one moment, that point of no return. And for Baraka, that moment came when the harassment got deeply, deeply personal and, in his view, totally unforgivable.
You can see on the timeline how quickly things just went completely off the rails. It started as this sort of general counterattack against trolls, but it became intensely personal when his family was targeted. For Baraka, the trolls using his mother's picture, that was the ultimate red line. And his reaction? It was dramatic. It was public. On December 8th, 2017, he announced he was just pulling the plug on his entire channel.
Now, this is so important for understanding his mindset. He didn't just see this as an attack from a few random, anonymous people online. No. For him, this was proof that the ugly German still exists. He connected this very personal harassment to a really dark historical national identity. He was turning his private war into a public crusade against an evil he felt was making a comeback in his own country.
So he framed his channel's deletion not as him giving up, but as a tactical move to end the theater. In his head, if he removed the target, which was himself, he could starve the trolls of attention and just end the whole drama. But, as we're about to see, this retreat was only temporary.
Yeah, his retreat didn't last long. And when he came back, the anger hadn't disappeared. It had just shifted its focus. He wasn't just fighting trolls anymore. He was now taking the fight straight to the top, to the very platform that hosted them, YouTube itself.
And this brings us right back to that wild threat from the beginning. He actually identified a specific troll by name and then issued this direct ultimatum to YouTube's executives. You either deliver this user to me, or I will make sure YouTube Germany is shut down for good.
Which obviously raises a massive question. How could one guy possibly believe he could shut down YouTube? I mean, what was the logic behind a threat that sounds so completely impossible?
Well, here was his justification. It was all built on this kind of moral, almost legal-sounding argument. He was claiming that because YouTube allowed all this harassment to happen by not policing these criminal people, the platform had become complicit. So in his mind, YouTube wasn't a neutral party anymore. It was an accessory to the crimes being committed against him. And he believed that complicity gave him the right to take extreme measures.
So, this ultimatum, this was the peak of his war. He had drawn his line in the sand. But the end of the story didn't come from some huge showdown with YouTube. No, it came from something totally unexpected and, frankly, really, really strange.
According to Baraka himself, his entire campaign just slammed on the brakes. And it was all because of a single anonymous phone call that he claimed came from a very, very unlikely source.
Get this. He claimed that an enemy figure, someone he said was connected to the New World Order, the big conspiracy theory about a secret global elite, called him up personally. And this person supposedly warned him to stop, telling him that his legal complaints would go nowhere because the entire system was infiltrated. In other words, his fight was completely useless. And this might be the most revealing part of the whole story. Let's just walk through it. An alleged enemy calls him with advice. He's told his fight is pointless. He accepts it, and he stops everything. See, this call gave him the perfect off-ramp. He didn't have to admit defeat or that his threats were empty. Instead, he could frame his withdrawal as a tactical retreat from a fight he couldn't possibly win against this all-powerful hidden enemy. The game wasn't lost. It was rigged from the start.
And just like that, the war was over. The man who threatened to bring down YouTube Germany, who raged against his trolls who demanded justice, he ended his entire campaign with a plea. He called himself meaningless and just asked to be forgotten.
The story of Mimon Baraka is just a whirlwind. It's got genuine harassment, extreme reactions, and deep conspiracy theories all rolled into one. And it really leaves us with a difficult question for our time. In these anonymous online spaces, what's the difference between a victim fighting back and that same victim becoming the aggressor? It's a line that, in this case, seems to have been completely erased.